At 7:30, I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 21st, 2020 Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals open meeting. I'd like to open the meeting, but I need a roll call vote to open the meeting. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Hessian?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
And where'd you go? Mr. Haynes, where'd you go? Right there.
Here. Yes.
All right, so I got all five. Instructions on remote participation. For the most part, the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about reorganization of the board. Prior to the fiscal year, it's always up for reorganization. We have to discuss chairman, vice chair, and a clerk who's gonna basically take over my responsibilities of reading all notifications that come in. So I'm gonna throw it out there to the 5 board members that we got right now. What's your flavor? We keep it the same, or do we want to vote somebody else in? I have no problem staying where I am, but if the board wants to change, it is what it is. Whatever you guys want, whatever your flavor is.
I'd keep it the same.
I agree.
That's
Second
2.
that.
That's 3.
Yeah.
Bob, you still good?
Yeah.
Right. That's 5. We're gonna keep it the same way, but we will need to. Again, I can keep reading everything.
Rob, you need to take a roll call vote on that with your members.
Oh, on that. Okay, we'll do a roll call on that, Mr. Tanzi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna take that. We're voting because we gotta do a roll call on keeping the board the same.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, myself, yes. Mr. Hessian,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Okay, so we got that. The last thing is dealing with the clerk. I can keep doing it if you guys want me to, or we can vote somebody else that has a better speaking voice than I do. It's up to you. It's up to y'all. If you
There's no one who has a better speaking voice than you.
I'll listen to you. Thank you, sir.
I nominate Tim.
Uh-oh.
I second.
There's a second. There's a second. All of a sudden, his speaker doesn't work, so I don't know if we can do that. Mr. Hessian, what do you want to do?
I say status quo.
All right, I can stay status quo. Tim, if you're willing to take it, it's up to you.
Please keep it. Please.
Done. All right, so we got 3 that we're going to do a roll call vote one more time, just to fully keep status quo, and I'll keep reading everything. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Mr. Hessian?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
And Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Okay, done. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Here we go. Notice is hereby given that a virtual remote continuance public hearing will be held at 7:30 p.m. on July 21st, 2020 on the petition filed under Chapter 40B, Comprehensive Permit by Shingle Mill LLC, care of Conoco, 41st Street, Bridgewater, Mass. 02324 to allow the construction of 236 units of residential housing, the project, within 2 5-story buildings on approximately 29.33 acres of land located at 0 Pond Street and 152 Wilson Street, the site. The applicant is proposing 25% of the units to be classified as affordable as per MGL Chapter 40B. The site is located at 0 Pond Street, Lot 13, Map 9, and 152 Wilson Street, Lot 68, Map 10. A copy of this application is available on request electronically from the town clerk, 781-871-1874, extension 1, or Zoning Board of Appeals, 781-871-1874, extension 1195. This meeting will only be held virtually and not in person. That's where I'm going to leave it. Mr. Lincoln, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you for allowing the site visit. It was informative, and it was good, and it was good to actually get out there and see what we're dealing with. Do you want to introduce the team that you got going?
Sure. I don't even see anybody on here. I mean, it should be Dave Andronico and Walter Marione.
Let me see, we got Dave, see that. There's a Walter, you said?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm here.
Walter, I see.
If you don't mind, I'll take it from here for a moment.
Okay. Who else do we have on your team, sir?
Dave Andronico, who I'm going to introduce now. Dave is representing Jones Street Real Estate, and Jones Street is a partner in this project. Dave has taken the ball since the last meeting to this meeting to work with the engineers to submit a new package, a revised package, as we discussed at the
Okay.
last meeting. Hopefully everybody has it. I know that I sent it to Attorney Galvin and Judy Barrett. Hopefully you both have that package. So what we'd like to do now is turn our side of the meeting over to Dave. Let Dave introduce himself, because I don't believe you folks have met him before. And then maybe Dave can walk through the changes in the plans and start there, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
That works for me.
That's great. Dave, you want to take it from here?
No microphone.
Did we lose him?
I got no microphone. There's no icon that says it's slashed out either.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Do you know sign language, sir? Obviously, you can hear us.
On my end, it says connecting.
Yeah, it's saying same here.
I don't
we
see a
don't-
microphone icon at all.
Right.
Dave, maybe call in on your phone and do the audio through your cell phone.
Yeah, if he can't touch base, I can certainly run with it.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Ernesto Caparota. I'm also here on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, there we go, Mr. Caparata. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Mr. Chairman, while Dave works this out, rather than hold everybody up, you wanna have Mr. Lincoln get started?
Yeah, if that's it, if that's how we'd
Yeah,
like
I
to
don't
go.
want to hold you guys up. I'm sure, Rick, you comfortable?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you all hear me now at all?
There we go.
Hey.
Got
Hey,
All right. I'm sorry for the rocky start. All right. So as Walter had mentioned, Walter, thank you for the introduction, and thank you all for the audience. I represent Jones Street Residential. I'm the director of project management for Jones Street, and I will be kind of taking over the design element, if you will, of the project and managing the A&E team as well as the construction team. As well, Walter already mentioned, I believe you've all received, or hope you've all received, the revised package that we sent, and that was developed in response to some of the comments that were made earlier on in this process. So I thought what might make sense, and I should also note that here on the call with me, I also have Patrick Grimmins from Ty and Bond. He is with our civil engineering group. We have Steve Regal and Aaron West from DMS. They are the architect, and also I think that's it. But I've lost my view. Who else do I have is on here? I think we have, and there we go. We have Bob Sanda from Callahan, who we've engaged for pre-construction. Have all joined me on this call for support to help answer questions or help talk through the package. I thought what might make the most sense, and hopefully someone knows how to do this, is perhaps I could share my screen and walk through the package, and we could kind of talk through some of the changes that you might have noticed. Is there any way that we can do that?
So at the bottom of your screen, Dave, there should be a green icon.
I got
that
it
says-
here.
Perfect.
Let me just go ahead and hit share. Let me know when you can all see my screen.
Yep.
You say Shingle Mills title page? All right.
Yep.
Okay, so why don't we kind of get right into it? I'm going to do a general overview pass first, and then we can get into some of the details. And, we're here to field questions and talk through anything that you guys want to talk about.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with some aerial views of the project. As you can see, and some of you may know this from the site walk and from previous discussions, that we've changed the shape of the buildings, where we have what we call here this L-shaped building and what we're calling the bar building. And then you can see the long road out to Pond Street here. And then additionally, we'll have a leasing or amenity office here to the, I guess, the east end of the site. So I'm going to bring you now to some renderings of our most current design, which are different than what you've seen previously. I think what we've tried to create here is a more residential look, and we try to accomplish that with the roof design and some of the roof lines. You may notice that we have a pitched roof, which is actually not a complete pitched roof. It's actually a bathtub design, where our mechanical sits on the roof, tucked in behind the bathtub, so you don't see it from the ground or the street or really anywhere. It gives a very residential look, which was our attempt to have the project kind of fit into the neighborhood a little bit better. And the neighborhood I understand relatively well, because I actually live in Hanson. I drive by this site every day, and that's the Home Depot that I visit 3 or 4 times a day when I don't pick up everything I wanted to buy. If we continue on, we have some different views. See, there's the L building, and you're looking from the west end of the site. Here's the end of the bar building. Again, this is from the west end of the site. The siding material that you see here right now is called out as a cedar siding. It'll either be, right now it's conceptual. It'll either be a cedar or a faux cedar or some kind of perhaps a clapboard, but some kind of a textured finish, not a metal panel or anything like that. And then here is a rendering of the leasing office, which will house the offices as well as some amenity space as well. And we have some floor plans that are coming up here we can talk through as well. So this is, again, what we're calling the bar building. In level 1, we have, obviously, there are units, and there are also some amenities. This would be the interior of the site here where you would enter. You'd have a mail area, a lounge, we've tried to create some work-from-home stations that you'll find throughout the property. This is one example of it, where we want to try to give folks the opportunities to work from home. And given the current circumstances and the current situation, and who knows how long it's going to go, hopefully not much longer, these would be little isolated pods for you to be able to work kind of in a safe environment. We also have a kitchenette and some more lounges. Off the back of the building, there's a proposed pet spa and a potential dog run out back as well, and a proposed patio area. Now we're going to move on to the L building here. This would be the interior of the site, so that interior parking lot where you would enter the building here. Over here we have a gym, which would be a 2-level gym. Part of it would be open to below. And then stacked throughout the building would be more unique kind of themed lounge areas. It would be a gaming area, maybe a craft area, and so on and so forth. So each floor has a little bit of an identity. And then we have here some exterior renderings, which just call out some of the materials. It's a shingle roof. Again, here's the cedar siding, black PVC corner board, and so on. And if I go too fast, we can go back and look at any of these and, again, talk about any of the details.
Dave, can you do me a favor? Stick on that page
Absolutely.
for a second.
Yeah.
Just zoom into the overall into the height calculations of that. I just want to see what the overall height is. I can't read it from here. 69 foot 10 inches. Okay, everybody see that? 69 foot 10 inches is the height of that building. Are both buildings proposed to be that high?
Yeah, and that is from grade, and that will be from the elevated grade, which we'll get into later on in the package.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be 69 from what you see now. It would be 69
plus another 8 feet or whatever it is.
Right. And then we have some elevations again of the leasing office. And again, just a floor plan, offices here, and some amenity space over here. We've put together some revised site context photos, which are pretty self-explanatory. The Home Depot being over here. This is the Home Depot lot. And then here is a rendering from just outside the Home Depot lot. You can see the property right there. So now I thought we might get into some of the more technical aspects. As I had mentioned, we have Patrick from Ty and Bond on the call with us. I'm going to lean on him heavily to get into some of the technical details. But we were able, I know that one of the major concerns earlier on was the amount of fill that we were going to be bringing on the site. And we've revised the plan to reduce the amount of fill, what I think is by a relatively significant amount. And Patrick, I don't know if you have audio, but maybe you could talk a little bit about how we were able to reduce it and by how much, and maybe point to some of the details and explain how we were able to accomplish that. And you can guide me to whatever drawing you'd like me to use as an aid.
Yeah, sure. So I guess it's hard to see. If you want to go to, I guess let's just start with the site plan C102, and then I can kind of walk through into the grading from there. So these are just survey plans that you folks had previously seen.
Yep. Let me see.
A little bit further up.
Slow
Right
loading.
there.
Forgive me.
Click on that page 24, David. There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
Yep.
I think there's a lag.
Yep. So you guys will see that the site plan here, it really looks very similar to what was previously submitted. Really, we just built off of Conoco's previous work, and it incorporated some comments into the site plan package. So David, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is a more detailed version of that road plan. One of the things that we have done here is we incorporated the road widening concept that had been previously submitted as part of the prior package. So that road widening detail is now shown on Pond Street. And then, a lot of the road design itself is very similar. We've tightened up some of the retaining walls a little bit, but it's all, like I said, very similar. The big changes you'll see in the grading and drainage plan. If you want to go to the next slide, David. So again, as I mentioned, folks, this is it looks very similar to the prior plan. Same parking layouts. We did incorporate. We included some fire truck turning templates to show that the trucks can maneuver through the site. One of the comments that we did get was to provide the the detailed site data information. So you'll see up in the left corner there that we've included that site data table and actually identified in that box the what relief would be included as part of this special permit. All right, so that's the site. If you want to go to the grading and drainage, David, I think this is really where we made the most change. Actually, I think there you go. So what we were able to do is, I guess, to start with the fill and actually the stormwaters, we were able to lower the site about 4 feet. I think the site was raised previously about 8. So the fill areas now are going to range from like 3 to 5 feet. It's probably about 4 feet on average. We started with the stormwater management design, which is similar but a little different. We do have that infiltration basin designed in the parking lot area, and that was really the driver behind how we set our elevations. So that is sitting up 4 feet above groundwater. In fact, we did a test pit right where that infiltration basin sits in the middle of the parking lot, and to confirm what groundwater elevation was. And from there, we worked our way up and gave ourselves a little bit of a buffer just to make sure that we had enough separation from groundwater. And then from there, that's how we graded the site out. And like I said, we were able to get it, the buildings themselves are about 3.5 feet down, but the parking lot areas actually get down even further, about 4 to 5 feet lower than what was previously graded. Same thing up along the driveway. We kind of used the grade a little bit. The road itself is higher, so we pitched it back more. We no longer have a rain garden that's proposed out along Pond Street because of the grade coming off the road. It's higher towards the site. We were able to bring the stormwater back. And one of the things that we did was where there was previously a rain garden shown on this page here, we have since changed that best management practice to a gravel wetland, which we felt might be a more appropriate stormwater BMP in this high groundwater table. So we did include a detailed drainage analysis that shows how we meet the Massachusetts stormwater standards, but that's just kind of the general overview of the stormwater changes and grading changes that we've made on the plans. And then similarly,
thank you.
I don't have to go into detail in the next sheets, but the utility plans, we just provided a little more detail as well in terms of calling out pipe sizes, identifying hydrants, whatnot, just addressing some of the technical questions that had been in the peer review letters. And again, same thing with these detail sheets, just adding some more detail sheets. I think, David, you can see here, David's scrolling in. We added a retaining wall section kind of to show what that is going to look like in terms of providing guardrail fencing along the walls. And then similarly, the detail just below it is like a typical detail of what the road section looks like. But that's really.
And I know that one of the concerns was the size of the footing and foundation required for the retaining wall. So hopefully this offers a little illustration of what that sizing might look like.
Yeah, at this time, what we're actually proposing, we're looking at still hopefully a segmental block retaining wall. We did perform geotechnical investigation on the site. We are looking at ground improvement, so we have to figure out exactly which ground improvement we're going to use, maybe likely a rammed aggregate pier, but those will be below the building areas and also below the retaining walls to provide improved ground and allow us to construct the retaining wall the way it's shown.
All right, Patrick, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to move us along now here, and let's look at some of the landscaping. We'll look at the landscaping scheme here. This is the lighting plan of the for the site, and as you can see, this shows the throws of each light. We try to minimize the amount of post lighting throughout the site. We try to include as much as we could on the building, downlit, as to minimize light pollution, but also keep the site safe and lit. We can scroll now to, I'm actually going to go to the next sheet, which is the hardscape. And I know that some of the questions were, you were looking for some further definition on what the boundaries of the pedestrian walkways were. So we have parking here. This is a grass paved, and you may have seen this. It's like a grid system that sits on top of gravel and sand and then planted with grass. So it's kind of like a green walkway, if you will. This is all just brushed concrete sidewalks. We do have some stamped concrete walkways. It's relatively simple. Again, this is the grass paved. This would also allow for truck access, fire truck access, which we have also a truck turning radius sheet that I can show you as well. And I'll actually see if I can jump us to that. I think that's the last sheet, actually. No, perhaps not. I'll find that as we go. And then here is a planting.
That's it. That's up in my package. That's where it is.
Yeah, I thought I had moved this package around a little bit.
Okay.
And I think I did a bad job shuffling it around. But it is in the package you received. You know what sheet it is, Patrick?
If you go past the details, it's the last sheet, I believe.
Here it is. I was on it. So this is for fire department access. And as you can see, that is a drivable surface with what we think is sufficient access behind the building into both ends. Same with L building. So that is the general overview of the package. So I thought now would be, a good time to field some questions and kind of get your feedback on if you think this is an overall improvement, which I'm hoping you will, and hoping that you feel as though it addressed most, if not all, of your comments and concerns.
So far, so good. Let's see. Can we do everybody a favor and pull the drawings off the share screen? I want to see who I still have awake right now. Here we go. All right. And guess who showed up? Mr. Brennan. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Nice. So you did you got this in plenty of time to be able to do a full engineering review on this. Is that correct?
No, I just got it yesterday, so I haven't even really looked at it yet.
Yeah. No, I kind of understand. We all did too. So that is gonna, at this point, that's kind of gonna be an issue. Yeah, we have to get this stuff in a timely manner. So we still need to deal with that. Mr. Gillen still has to review the traffic because he said I heard he was waiting for another piece. Is that correct, Mr. Brennan?
He was waiting for some information related to the Mass DOT signal infrastructure out on Hingham Street so that he could assess the impacts on there. And it's my understanding that either the applicant's traffic engineer has not made contact with Mass DOT, or they hadn't, at least as of a couple of weeks ago. So I know that was kind of the holdup on the traffic, but I received an email from Mr. Gillen yesterday saying that he was going to move forward with this review even without the Mass DOT information. But that Mass DOT information is extremely critical based on the impact that's going to have at Pond Street and Hingham Street, that intersection.
Mr. Andronico, do you want to do you have any answers for that? Can you? I guess we're waiting for you guys. We're waiting for some information from you guys.
I'm not. Maybe I misunderstood it, Pat. Is that information you're waiting for us on? And I'm sorry. While that was going on, there was some strange muting and unmuting thing going on my end, and I got a message from Lisa, so I got a little distracted at the end there. What is it specifically that you're waiting on from us? And I'll make a note of it and make sure that we get that information to you post-haste.
Yeah, so it was, and hold on a second, I'm just going to pull up an email that I have here. Yeah, so he was looking for the contact at Mass DOT that regarding the signal system that McMahon Associates would have been contacting. And this was some emails back and forth on June 24th and 25th. And the response back from Mr. Bandini at McMahon Associates was that they had not engaged in discussions with Mass DOT regarding the signal system on Hingham Street, and their traffic study addressed a recent Mass DOT road safety audit at that intersection. So that's their, I guess their traffic report was based on that road safety audit and not necessarily the signal timing and so forth on Hingham Street. I'm not a traffic engineer, so I'm just kind of being the messenger here. But I can get, I can try to find out some more concise exactly what Mr. Gillen's looking for.
Yeah, well, that would be great. And Pat, feel free to give me a call. Maybe we can chat about it offline so we can get into the nitty-gritty, just so it's clear to me exactly what you're looking for, because I'm sure we can get that information.
Sure.
Thank you, Pat.
Is there anything else that you need from the applicant to start reviewing, other than for reviewing the current, basically reviewing for the now adopted Conservation Commission local bylaw? That falls under our purview at this point too, so we're going to need to start looking at that and it's kind of obvious what the impacts are, but we're going to need to start looking at that as well. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you're looking at, Pat, that you may need?
Well, like I said, they sent over the revised plans, which Mr. D'Andronico just went through, as well as new drainage calculations. It would be helpful if they had like a response to my comment letter, just so I know exactly where to look for some of the changes.
Okay.
So it's either that or I have to go through the entire plan set again, but it's helpful to have some response to comments so that I know that they've actually, at least addressed some of my previous comments.
Understood.
I will, Pat, what I'll do is I'll use your original, you're talking about the original memo, and what I'll do is maybe I'll put your comment, and then I'll make a sub-comment which directs you to where to find where that comment has been addressed. I'll try to get that in the next day or two. I'll get that right away.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. I can send you my Word document so you have the comments, so you don't have to, if that's easier for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, David. Something else that I've been trying to get a hold of, because again, it's how the local Concom bylaw is administered is under our purview at this point. I've been looking for an ANRAD for the property. From my recollection, there was an ANRAD that was filed in 2018, but due to I guess a lack of communication or just going back and forth, I haven't gotten anything from the Conservation Commission from the town. I believe there was an ANRAD filed, and I'd like to know if that's the case. I'd like to see that ANRAD, and I'd like to kind of just confirm that these are the same wetlands flags locations that were done back in 2018. I'm assuming they are, because I believe Conoco was the one that did the existing conditions plan. But to have that in our file would be good. So if you can, I'm assuming you can pick that up, Mr. Capriata. I believe that you were at that meeting.
Yes, yeah. I confirmed the wetlands, the flagging, and ANRAD was done, I believe it was 2018, and the wetlands shown on the current plans are the same.
Is there any way that you can facilitate getting us a copy of that? Again,
certainly.
If that would help, if you could get it to, let's say, David, if you could get it to him, whether it's a PDF or a hard copy, I'm sure that David can put that together in an email and get it to the board.
Excellent. We'll do that tomorrow.
So that takes care of that.
Very good. Thanks, Vanessa.
Pat, would there be anything else on the wetland side that you would need?
Yes. So I have the wetland bylaw,
Right.
but I don't have wetland regulations. The bylaw really is no different from the Wetland Protection Act. It says in the bylaw that they may have rules and regulations that they're going to adopt, but I don't know if that's ever happened. Those rules and regulations would be key for my review.
Judy, it looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, to Pat's comment, I think that the applicant also needs to indicate in the waiver list what local bylaw they're seeking to waive, if anything. Because if they're not asking for any waivers from the local wetlands bylaw, then they have to comply with it.
Right.
So, Pat, I can maybe try to help facilitate getting the Concom's rules and regs.
Okay. That would be great.
See what I can do tomorrow. If those rules and regs actually exist, let me see what I can do.
All right. So it would still be nice to have basically a document, one document that shows that shows every single waiver or variance or anything that you're asking for any one of the departments or boards. That way we have something to basically be able to go back and look at.
Right.
Instead of having it piecemeal on different plans, it would be nice to have one document that shows every waiver, every variance, every deviation from our local bylaws. Again, that's my opinion, but I think it would help everybody involved.
No, I agree, and I think we can absolutely pull that together. If that makes it easier, I think it will make it easier for everyone. So we're happy to do that.
Mr. Chairman, that document exists. I I think it was just an error that it wasn't submitted with the package.
Okay.
I know it exists because Conoco sent it to me last week and I reviewed it.
Okay.
So there is one document, an 8.5 by 11, couple sheets listing all of the waiver requests. So I'll make sure that gets over to you.
Sounds good to me.
Package.
What I'd like to do is, who else? We talked to Pat, that's good. Talked to Judy. Oh, actually, Judy, how you doing tonight?
I'm fine, and you?
Not too bad. Mr. Galvin, do you have any words at this point?
I have a few. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I noticed the plans indicate that the applicant's name is John Street Development, and the application identifies Shingle Mill LLC as the applicant.
Right.
And I was hoping we could get some clarification on that. I'll just tell you the issues that I saw. There's a letter from the planning board expressing a concern about fill.
Right.
There's also a letter from Jack Egan, and he has some comments. I don't know if you have that, but you might want to summarize that and make sure that the applicant has a copy of it, because he's got some questions and some concerns about sewer, and he looks like he has some concerns about truckloads of fill coming in and concerns about the water supply.
Right.
Just for your information, the Wetlands Bylaw is 1 year old. There are no local rules and regulations yet, although I'm sure they'll be coming. The bylaw is essentially mimics the state act, except for the fact that a buffer zone is now jurisdictional in Rockland. So from that perspective, it's slightly more stringent than the state regulations, so they will need a bylaw waiver from anything that involves work in the buffer zone to the extent that they're proposing it. Lastly, and I'll let Judy do the talking on this, we have an issue with design review, and the board should be aware that I've been in contact with Attorney Marioni. Ms. Barrett was extremely helpful in getting a design review consultant to take a look at the aesthetics and the layout of the buildings, and we have, I believe, come to an agreement that will fund a peer review not to exceed $11,000 for the peer review consultant to look at the design related issues of the buildings, which would complement Mr. Brennan's site plan and engineering evaluation. So Attorney Marioni asked me earlier today where he should drop that check off, and I told him at the town hall, made payable to the town of Rockland, referencing the design review for the Shingle Mill project. So I think that's settled.
Thank you.
I can confirm that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I like that.
So I can, Mr. Chair, if you want, and certainly, in deference to Bob, if you would rather do this, I can take steps to put Cliff Bombers, the architect, in touch with the applicant's people. He's going to need, the elevation drawings and whatever plans are available to look at, and I can make sure he has Pat's contact information in case he has questions for the engineer.
Judy, that would be very helpful to me if you could do that.
No problem. That's fine.
Walter, is that acceptable?
That's perfect. Yeah, that would be great. If you'd like, I can address Attorney Galvin's comment regarding the applicant, the name on the plan.
Please do.
So the applicant and the owner is Shingle Mill. With Jones Street taking over sort of this coordination element, I think their engineer just added their name or put their name as applicant, but nothing has changed from the application that was submitted. Yeah, and we'll have that corrected on the plan. The other correction on the plan is the plan, the cover page listed as a special permit set of plans, and that should say comprehensive permit. So we'll have that corrected as well.
Mr. Attorney Marioni, could we get an updated waiver list that you think best reflects what you have in terms of your plans now?
Yes, that's what I mentioned to Mr. Rosa earlier. That list is done. I reviewed it last week. I apologize that it didn't make its way in the package. I think we all thought it was included. So we'll make sure that gets over to you post haste.
Okay, thank you.
We will obviously need that as part of the review.
Okay.
Anything else, Bob?
Nope, that's it for me. Thank you.
Right now, Judy, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir, not this evening.
All right, I'm gonna open. I want to open this up to the board. Mr. Tanzi, do you have any questions?
Well, I noticed at the entrance, there's still a pretty high set of retaining walls on either side of the access road. And one of the abutters coming in, as you enter in on the left, they had some really, I would say, valid concerns about the aesthetics and the appearance of that retaining wall. I'd like to see something get done there. I'm not sure exactly why it needs to be that high. From what I understand, you're looking at controlling runoff. I'm not sure what the intent is that you're trying to do there, whether you're trying to capture it and run it back onto the site. But that is a concern. I do feel bad for those people right as they come in. It's one thing that you have a big, a retaining wall, but they're going to be looking at a lot of traffic flow going in and out, even after construction's done. I would like to see some effort to maintain some type of a buffer zone, even if the full 25-foot can't be maintained. Mitigation plantings can be put in at the border of that border of the wetland line. And the other thing that I really would like to see, I'm wondering, with all these occupants of these units, I mean, they're going to have children. Is there any area that can be utilized to, as some type of a play area or recreation area, where they can at least, kick a soccer ball around or do something? I know that you have a dog run out there, which, is fine, but, where are the kids going to play? How are they going to, and Pond Street is a very busy street. Kids riding.
I can, if I might, if you look at the west end of the site, there's a pretty substantial grass planted area, which is probably a quarter of the size of the entire parking lot, which I think is pretty serviceable for outdoor space.
The west end of the site?
Yeah, plan west. The landscaping sheet might be the best sheet to look at it if you're looking at sheet LP 1.0.
That's a detention basin there, off to the west. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I'm thinking actually, so it's west north, which, okay, so not that area. I think it's just west north to that, where we have some green area. So, okay, I see what you're saying. My error.
This is one of the biggest problems I see in multifamily applications, frankly, is the failure to address play space for kids. And especially in a location like this, where, there's not like a public playground right down the street. There's got to be some provision here for for children who are going to live in this development to have suitable places to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, noted. We're going to look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tanzi, you got anything else to say?
Well, those are the big items. You know, Pat had indicated that he got a revised drainage report.
Mhm.
I'm not sure as if there are test pits in the detention basin. I know that there was some test pit done in the recharge system for the chamber unit system. But I would like to make sure that that detention basin has a nice, that it infiltrates, that it drains down in 72 hours. I really wouldn't want prolonged standing water in that basin. I'm not sure exactly if they have been able to maintain a 4-foot separation between the bottom of the basin and the groundwater.
Mhm.
Sure would be nice if they did. So I mean, Pat, I'd really like the basin to, make sure the test pits are adequate, and I don't want it becoming a mosquito breeding ground or a hazard to children. And I think, Mr. Chairman, that's all that I have right now.
Thank you, Mr. Tanzi. I appreciate that. Mr. Baker, you got anything to say, sir?
Yes. If I could ask Pat Brennan, do the plans show when they bring in the fill, how they're going to compact it? What ratio? Like, are they going to do it in 1 foot lift, 2, 3? Are they just going to?
Yeah, I haven't gotten into the revised plans that much yet. Like I said, I just received them.
You got them the same day that we did.
Yeah, I mean, typically, if it's not specified in the plans, it's going to be in their construction documents, their specifications for the job. But that can certainly be, if it's not outlined on the plans, that can certainly be a condition that you guys impose on the project, saying that you want, I mean, it's typically you want 95% compaction, especially on the parking lots and things like that. So I'll look into it and I'll let you know.
Well, my concern is that they bring the fill in and then they put all the structures in and stuff, and the ground isn't stable to hold it, and all of a sudden you're getting washouts.
Yeah, I know that the engineer from Ty and Bond had mentioned that they're going to have to do some ground, basically some shoring up the ground. They haven't determined what method they're going to use. It may be pilings. I think he said some of the rock piers. So they realize that they need to do some work out there to actually support these buildings, and like you mentioned, the retaining walls. So it is something that they're looking into, and it's something that I'll take a look at while I'm going through it as well.
This almost sounds like we need a structural engineer.
Yeah.
You talk to me, Mr. Brennan. What do you think?
That's more a geotechnical issue. I'll see if I can get their geotechnical report, and we can take a look at that.
Is that again? We're adding a lot onto your plate with this. I want to make sure that you're covered on this.
Yeah.
So is that something that we need to talk about, increasing a budget on your end, or?
I'll have to look and see where I'm at right now. But yeah, I mean, I'll send you a memo saying where I'm at for the budget right now and where I think it may end up.
And then from there, if if it makes sense to get a geotechnical engineer in to review this. I'll be honest, this is maybe I haven't been paying attention, but this is the first time that I've heard that there were technically geotechnical issues over here.
Well, yeah, that was brought up. I did get, I did see some of Mr. D'Andronico's presentation along with his engineers, so I did catch that part of it, and I noted
didn't
that.
catch that. Okay.
Yeah, I noted that when I was listening to it, so it's something that I'm going to be taking a look at.
I apologize, Mr. D'Andrico. I must have blanked out. I apologize.
It's quite a lot of information here.
So I'm just wondering, now that we're hearing this, or now that I'm kind of realizing this, it may be something that the board wants to talk about when it comes to geotechnical. That's not something that we have on the board. Again, you can review this. I just don't know if you feel happy coming up with any kind of conclusions on it. That would be up to you.
Pat, and as you review, please feel free to reach out to me if there's something in there that you think you need. If there's any additional information, obviously, you know, we can't consult. But if there's any additional information you need, feel free to call me directly, and I'll get whatever you need that might help you review that. But I think we have a pretty complete package, and we can even kind of talk through what our proposed strategies might be, if that brings some clarity to your review.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Baker, you got anything else to say, sir?
How high is the wall going to be coming in?
Which wall and where? I'm not sure I understand
The
the question.
retaining wall for the road. That going to be
max
4 foot
height.
high?
That as it comes in off of Pond Street, Bob?
Yes.
I see about 5, maybe 6 feet. If I'm reading the contours right, base of the contour where
That's what I was reading.
Yeah, I see 140, basically where that rain garden was supposed to be. I see 140 to 146. So I'm gut feeling grade is going to be in and around 146. It's going to be at least 6 feet plus probably a foot to be safe. So you're probably looking at about 7 feet. One of the things that I saw when I was out there was the general. I mean, that's a decent grade change. It does slope down from the backyards over there. I guess my question is it possible for the engineer to provide a cross section that actually shows how high that wall is going to end up being, basically where the car is actually going to sit on the roadway and what these people are actually going to see driving in and out? I'm wondering if that's possible to produce on paper.
Yes, we can cut
We
sections
can
along
produce
the
that.
length of the road.
Okay. I'd like to see a cross section, a couple of different cross sections stationed along that entry road, so we can kind of see what we're dealing with for, you know, existing grades, proposed height of wall, proposed roadway with a crown, proposed guardrail, and again, height of a standardized car on top of that. And then I don't remember off the top of my head how high the trees were, but they definitely had to be at least 30 feet tall. So it would be nice to be able to show naturally out there that'll screen this from the abutters if that actually exists.
Do you think you'd like to see a cross section maybe every 75 feet or so, or?
If you can, it's whatever you can put together. 75 feet would be good. 100 feet's probably not too bad because how long do we have a station? Do we have stations on the entry road? Do we know how long it is?
Yeah, it's 700 feet.
700 feet. Give me one every 100 feet.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. Yeah, at every full station, give me a cross section. But I definitely want to see height of wall, the location of the wetland with existing grade. Follow it up the wall. If the wall is going to have a batter to it, or if it's going to be a vertically placed wall, I want to see the width of the wall. I want to see the front face of the wall as it gets to the pavement. I want to see the curbing type. I want to see the crown on the road. I want to see the big problem is that the roadway does not have pedestrian access. As far as the plans I have, I do not see pedestrian access. So we're assuming that people aren't going to be walking down this road. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're all thinking?
Yeah. I'm not sure where that would send you. I don't. You put a sidewalk all the way down that road, and it sends you out to Pond Street, and there's no sidewalk along Pond Street. So it's a lot of cost that goes nowhere, to be quite honest.
Agreed. No, I absolutely understand. So again, from the wetlands all the way through the center line with the appropriate crown, going down the crown, same thing, curb on the other side, right down to the wetland, right up and over the wall, going right to the wetlands. And I don't want to just see a line. I want to see every single thing on this. And again, if we can do it in a 1-to-1 scale, that would be fine. I don't need a crazy vertical 1 in 20. I don't need a 1 in 20 and a 1 in 2. A 1-to-1 scale would be great on this. Let's see, what else? So that would kind of answer Mr. Baker's question as to how high these walls are going to be. Mr. Baker, I apologize. I kind of took over.
No problem.
Is that cool?
That's basically what I was looking for too. Is that neighbor can actually see a picture of how the wall's going to look.
No, that's understood. Where'd you go? I can't see you. All I see is your sunglasses. Where'd you go?
My camera moved. How come?
Because you're not doing a selfie. You're doing a... There you go. Something happened. All right, you'll figure that out.
I don't know. I moved the picture the wrong way.
Mr. Baker figures out his camera. Mr. Haynes, do you have anything to say, sir?
I had a couple others, Bob, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, Mr. Haynes, we're backing up a little bit. Mr. Baker.
Do we know the material being brought in has been questioned as to whether it's clean or not? If it's going to be clean fill, or if it's going to be...
It will, of course, be... Yeah, it'll, of course, be clean fill. We don't know where it's going to come from yet. I mean, that'll be determined once we start building and what's available. I mean, you pull this material from other sites, in essence. So that'll be determined once we get to that point, but it'll be clean fill naturally.
That would be a part of the conditions and a part of their construction documents when it comes time to actually put shovel to dirt. What else you got, Mr. Baker?
One other question is, how is the access going to be for the construction vehicles?
And I'm going to answer that for you. There is no access down Wilson Street for construction at all. It can't happen.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no.
I had the biggest problem trying to get down there in my van the day before the site meeting because there was a UPS truck parked in the middle of the road.
Right.
So I'm gonna say right off the bat that there is no construction access ever to be going down Wilson Street, inclusive of ripping down the house. If you're going to rip down that house, every piece of activity is going to have to be within the site. That's
understood.
I don't make these decisions myself. I'm just voicing my opinion rather strongly, but it is the decision of the board.
I agree.
It is my opinion, and I apologize for kind of going off kilter there. So, in the end, if the board agrees, it will be a condition. I can't see any construction access at all ever being allowed down Wilson Street. We're having a big enough problem with Norman Street down on the other end of it. So I don't want to get into that situation again. So,
all set.
Mr. Baker, are you good?
That's all for now.
Mr. Haynes, all you.
Thanks. So I have a few comments and a couple of questions.
Please do.
So in terms of the site sections, I think it would be important to include the buildings in, so we see some neighborhood context for the actual 70 feet plus height of the buildings plus plus the fill. So I'd like to see that in context as well as just not just the roads.
David, is that possible?
I'm going to have to get my head around that. We'll try to accommodate that, but might be. I'm not sure that will read graphically the way you want it to.
Well, I
but
think it's,
let me try to get my. I totally understand why you want to see that, and it's totally reasonable. Let me just see if I can make that happen and have it read in the way that we think it is, so it doesn't just become an abstract.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I think it's important to have some context to the scale of our neighbors and the distance to our neighbors in terms of figuring out what people are going to see. Same thing holds for, we don't have light cuts yet, so we've got some 15-foot high posts, some 12-foot high locations on the buildings. I'd like to know whether we're doing dark sky. I want to see what's visible because it's up considerably higher than the surrounding neighborhood. So, so same thing goes, just to get a context of what those things are like for the neighborhood.
So you're looking. I'm sorry. You're looking for cut sheets of the exterior lighting. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to see what we're doing for lighting, especially in terms of the height of the lighting, and again in the context of the neighborhood and what people are going to see. Just a couple quick comments about the buildings as we're seeing them now. This may just be an early rendition, but it's called out as white and lots of white trim. It's shown in sort of some softer muted colors, some grays and taupes. And I'm curious if that's just something that was on the drawings. White is one of those colors that reads bright at night. It reflects, and it's a little easier to see above and through trees. So I'm wondering if that's actually what you're planning, if this building's actually going to be white. And I would say that some of the colors that you're showing, some of those more muted colors might be more acceptable in terms of just visibility. So
just to answer that, this is conceptual at this point, and no final color selections have been made. I do think that we will have some lighter schemes in here, but we'll take that comment into consideration and certainly make that a part of our decision-making process. And when we get to a point, we'll share with you maybe some more finalized color schemes.
Again,
but noted.
I'll defer to our design review on this as well, which is adding the roof on top of the 5 stories. I'm curious if you investigated putting the top story in more of a dormer type of situation, even a false dormer for that roof effect, rather than actually adding the height of this bathtub roof. But I'll defer to our design review.
And I think a lot of what you're asking, the architect's probably going to ask too. So this is good. This is good.
Yeah, I think that's coming. So a couple of questions that are on the plan. I am wondering, now that we're seeing the changes in the road on Pond Street, to the board or our town advisors, where's the highway department on reviewing this and giving us any feedback? There's a retaining wall there too, and I don't see any heights. They're adding retaining walls, another very long retaining wall, not on their property. So I'm curious if anyone has looked at that retaining wall that we're seeing now along the roadway to see if that's in fact acceptable on that land that the developer doesn't own. And then I'd like to know.
I will add that retaining wall is a part of the road improvement, which, just we're offering as kind of a public service. So we'll certainly do whatever the town feels appropriate. And we realize it's not our land, but neither is the road improvement. So it's not necessarily a part of the scheme that we've proposed, and more so a means to provide that to the town as a service.
Well, you're adding, it's the retaining wall part of it more than anything that's problematic. We've got enough retaining walls boxing in this neighborhood that floods, and so we're adding another retaining wall. So I'd like to know what the height of that wall is and what the impact on the neighbors in that area is going to be.
Who does own that piece of property?
We do,
Town of Rockland does?
yes.
No.
Within the road, it's within the road layout. The
If it's
highway
within- If
superintendent.
it's within the
sent
road layout, then
recommend-
yeah, we would own it, but who's on the backside? It looks like it's going outside of the roadway layout.
Yeah, that's what I saw. It looks like a town-owned piece of property, but it's not clear. Ditto, it leads to my other question, which is, have we gotten an answer on who owns Cedar Street? It's listed here as private, but private would indicate that somebody owns it if it's private. And to that extent, there's improvements happening in this either roadway or private way along Cedar Street, and I'm just wondering who has the authority to actually do the grading and grade changes and road work in land that's not owned by this particular developer.
Good question, sir. Very good question.
I believe the highway superintendent sent a memo to us.
I haven't seen that. So, so my biggest concern for tonight, from the information that we have now, with the plans, the bedroom counts, the unit information, one of the variances that's clear in the drawings is that our 3 parking spaces per unit it needs a waiver, needs some zoning relief.
Okay.
And while that might be reasonable, if I'm doing my math properly, you've got 1 1/4 parking space per unit. So that applies to 2-bedroom units, even 1-bedroom units with roommates or married people. There's some 3-bedroom units in there as well. But I would like somebody from the development team to walk me through how it's possible on this very isolated, it's just long drive. There's no nearby street parking. There's nowhere to put any other cars. I don't understand how you could have 1 1/4 spaces per unit and not have a problem. So could somebody address the parking question?
Well, let us take some time to review that, because we've talked about this, and there may be some opportunity for some additional parking and maybe even some compact spaces, with something we're contemplating. But I think it's reasonable to expect that some of the 2 bedrooms won't be 2-car families, and some of the 1 bedrooms might not even have parking spaces. But that is something that we've talked about internally, and we're looking at options to include maybe some compact spaces or find some additional spaces throughout the property. So that is something we're thinking of as well. So I don't want to spend too much time trying to sell you on that 1/4 parking space. I'd rather continue our investigation and then present some kind of narrative that might give you a little bit more confidence in the number of spaces that we're proposing to provide.
Okay.
But we hear the concern, and we've had the same question.
Okay, well, good. Terrific. So Tim,
Can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure, of course.
We can't make a decision on, maybe there won't be a car for that 1-bedroom unit, or there may not be 2 cars for the 2-bedroom unit. We have to make it by what the bylaw says, the number of spaces, and we can't just go by, well, maybe 3 of the units won't have cars, so we can use those 3 spaces for someone else. So they have to get
Well,
their,
that's why we'd be looking for relief. So let us, like I said, let us evaluate this, and we'll get back to you with a response. We hear the comment, and we appreciate the comment. So let us evaluate that and come back to you with some kind of a reasonable, thought-out response.
And
Right.
again, it would be in the list of, variances or waivers that you're looking for. So,
And from
That's
my
exactly
perspective,
right.
we talked about having a walkway. We talked about putting pedestrian walkway to go out to Pond Street, and it's not there. And the conversation is there's nowhere to go, which would mean everyone who lives there, everyone on site, all guests, all residents are driving. There's there's nowhere to walk. There's no public transportation that they'll be walking to. So this is a car-centric development. That's my biggest concern from the package we just got. So those are my concerns. So for now, that's all I have.
thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. All right. I guess that leaves me. We already talked about the cross sections. That's something that we need to see. What was the other thing? Now, in the end, I see the 12-inch wide emergency fire access. Was there still going to be a gate at the end of Wilson Street?
It's not shown on this plan, but we can let us explore that. Is that something that would be required?
I'm not saying that it's required. I just don't. Again, it's emergency access only. There's not going to. Actually, proposed emergency. No, it was buried in the. It was buried. I see it. Proposed emergency access gate. Coordinate with town of Rockland Fire Department. I see it. I thought it was going to be a little bit further now. So it actually is there. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it was buried up by the. So I got that. Again, we were talking about on-site amenities for most specifically for the kids. But I'm also thinking of the adults. I know plenty of adults that like to go out and shoot hoops. There's certain things that could be added on here, even if it took up a number of parking spaces. Certain areas that could be provided on site, possibly for again on-site recreational areas, if that were possible. And it's one of those things that with these 40Bs you kind of need it. Especially
I totally hear that. I totally hear that. We're going to do an overall reevaluation of where we can find some additional outdoor amenity spaces. It's a more challenged site than you may think.
Absolutely.
We're surrounded by wetlands, and we're struggling to find parking as it is. And now I just have to find a playground and a parking lot and more parking spaces. So it's a challenging site. So bear with us, but we hear the comments. We understand the need, and we agree that would certainly be a positive. So let us put our creative hats on and see what we can come up with.
Just throwing it out there. The house at 152 Wilson Street, that's supposed to be coming down. That's a perfect area for something. Whatever.
It certainly could be, so long as that we don't. I mean, I guess I would say that as long as the board doesn't feel that would be too intrusive to the neighborhood. I don't know who wants a basketball court put up next to their house.
If it was screened, I would think that, again, I would like to hear from some of the neighbors. When it comes to that, if you guys do propose that, I'd like to probably hear from some of the neighbors. But the thing is that, again, at the last meeting, I had asked to see what basically where the limit of roadway acceptance for Wilson Street was, even if it was accepted. So I don't know. I don't know if Wilson Street's actually a private street or not. It would be nice to see. If it was an accepted road, how far the acceptance goes up the road. Because again, I realize that you own because you own the 152 Wilson, you own both sides of the road. If it is a private road, you own to the center line of the road. So in front of Wilson and opposite Zero Pond within Wilson Street, if it is a private road, you can kind of consider it your own property. It's a right of way, but the thing is that there are other people that would have rights to it as well. And I think this is what Mr. Baker was coming at. When it comes to Wilson, actually, maybe it was Tim. When it comes to Cedar, when it comes to Wilson Street, I'd like to know what the status of that is. I think it just says unimproved. It does say private on Cedar, and Wilson says public. But I'd like to see what the limit of the public acceptance was. That way we can gauge kind of where you can utilize that ownership to the center line if that is how it is. Because if
Mr. Rosa?
Yep.
Could I just, my concern is that the lot that's a residential lot in a residential subdivision might be owned by them, but that doesn't mean all the traffic necessarily has the right to spill from this property through that neighborhood, which is residential.
Oh, they're never going to. No, that's not. That's why it's always going to be emergency only. Emergency only. I'm thinking that when it's all said and done, that 152 could be utilized as that 152 Wilson could be utilized as a play area for children, a possible basketball court if the grades allow. Because that's one thing that is allowable in the residential area is playground.
I thought there was an upland knoll on the westerly side of the property that I had seen exposed at one point, and that might be more centrally located in the site. I could be wrong, but
I agree. I'd like to see an ANRAD plan that shows that. That's the only problem, but we don't have that. So I don't know it. I think I've heard of that before, but I don't see it in this plan set. So if that's David, if that's something that can be looked at again, getting us a copy of the ANRAD, and then potentially if there is an upland area on site, an additional upland area on site, maybe that area could be utilized as on-site amenities. Playground area, hiking area, some trails or something that could be utilized through the wetlands.
Agreed. Understood. We'll study them.
Explore that. Thank you. Appreciate it. What else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Tanzi.
I didn't see on the plan, is there a note that has stated the area of upland versus wetland on the entire site?
I don't think so, because as I'll be honest, I don't know if the applicant knew that he was going to have to come to us when it came to basically the wetlands. So I don't know if they were prepared for that. But again, with the ANRAD, we would have had that information. We would have been able to have that answer tonight.
Right, but the wetland that they have, the line on there now, has been established through the ANRAD.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Mr. Capriata said that there was one approved. I believe there was one approved. I've asked for this plan several times.
Yeah.
Hasn't come through on our end. So I'm asking the applicant if the applicant can provide that.
Yeah.
You have it tomorrow.
I think
Thank you, sir.
It would be helpful for me if I knew exactly how much upland there is on the site.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get a feel for the true density. I mean, the site has a lot of acreage on it, but the available usable acreage is a lot less, just because of the wetland. So,
Mr. Vice Chair, do you have anything else?
that's it for now.
All right. I think the board's beat up the applicant enough. Mr. Mr. Galvin, do you have anything else to say?
No, I think I'm satisfied at this point.
Ms. Barrett, are you, do you have anything?
No, I'm okay too.
You're good? Mr. Brennan, how you doing?
Other than what I've asked for, I'm good for right now.
Okay. Where else are we? Mr. Rubel, I see you here. You were hiding down in my left-hand corner. What, how you doing tonight, sir? I'll assume you said good. I still can't hear you. There you go.
We're doing okay.
Do you have,
At this point, I have no questions at this point.
okay. I appreciate you showing up. Let's see. Usually at this point, we start talking to the general public. I don't know who is
Mr. Rosa,
here.
can I ask one more question?
Please, Mr. Galvin, go for it.
Just kind of a little bit of foreshadowing of a construction-related issue. Mr. Rubel and I have been working with the developer of the Lydia Square project, and when these projects have been built, it's been our requirement and a requirement of other 40B permits that when they go to the board, that when they go to the building inspector or the building commissioner for a building permit, a lot of the times it's controlled construction, but Mr. Rubel typically employs a team that evaluates the project as it goes along and reports back to him, you know, at various stages that they've reached certain things. And I'd be happy to explain that to Attorney Marioni offline so we don't have to wait time tonight, but that's something that we ran into some discussion about with the Lydia Square developer, and I'm going to assume that Mr. Rubel would probably follow that practice with this much larger project. So,
Yes, that I will require that.
Mr. Attorney Marioni, do you have any problem talking to Bob later on?
That's fine. We'll take care of it directly. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Galvin?
Nope, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. No, please. Let's see. Now, I'd like to see if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak up. Kim, that you're with us. Let's see. I don't really see anybody. Nobody's really saying anything. Nobody's speaking up. So I'm gonna back right up. Ms. Barrett.
Yes, sir.
You've been incredibly helpful with us, or to us at this point. Are you missing any documentation from the town specifically, from any specific departments?
Well, the reason it's hard for me to answer that question is that I don't know. You've been sharing things with me. I just don't know who has the repository of all the comments.
I understand.
You know, if I could see that, then I'd kind of know what we're missing. But I don't know what's perhaps already been received that I just haven't seen. And I'd like to be able to take a look at whatever comments have come in from town boards or departments, because if something needs a follow-up or maybe some clarification, then I can help you, kind of in the way a town planner would in a community that had one. But I just don't have a comfort level at all that I know what's come in.
No, I absolutely understand. What I've forwarded to you so far came from the planning board. It was a rough note that came in from Board of Health. Much appreciated on both departments. I have not gotten anything from Conservation Commission. I think they're going to step away for right now. So we're not really gonna talk about that with them. I've asked for their input in this. I don't think we're gonna get it. The only other so we've got Board of Health, we've got Board of Health, we've got Planning Board. So I'm happy there. The other departments that I'd be looking for, and this is a brand new set of plans at this point. So we'd probably be looking for sewer,
police, fire,
highway department, based on this new set of plans. David, can you tell me, do you know if the other departments in town have gotten a new submittal?
I'm going to flip that to my counterpart, Mr. Lincoln, as he was the distributor of the package.
Okay.
Rick, do you know if it went to those departments?
Well, it all went to Candy, so
Okay.
it's same drill with the 22 copies. So
Okay.
she said she was dropping them off personally to everybody.
And that doesn't surprise me. She probably did. I will go back and forth. I will go back and forth with her after the meeting to find out if that's how it happened. And then in turn, I can reach out to each of the individual department heads and see what I can get for response and comments on the new design. And then from there, I will make sure it's forwarded to you, Judy.
Do you want me to try to help communicate with them?
If
So it's
you
not
can
all on
do that,
you?
that would be phenomenal. If you
Why
can
don't
do,
I try to do that?
okay, all right.
I mean, I'll CC you. I'll certainly keep you, copied on any email. But I think that if I could, maybe help you and work through Jennifer, for example, I think we could probably maybe consolidate some of this a little bit more, which I
would
think
be
would be helpful to the board and certainly to the applicant as well.
You have Candy's.
Without a doubt.
You have Candy's email address?
I do. Yes, I do. I have Candy's. I have Jennifer's. I just need to kind of pull this together. So why don't you give me, let me see.
If you can put your hands on all that correspondence or at least coordinate the new correspondence, that would be 100% helpful because again, planning board has gone and planning board has done what I asked them to do. Board of Health has done what I've asked them to do. If you could take that job, that would be perfect.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
The only other question that I had, and it came out at the site meeting, was at one point, apparently this was a junkyard?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
At one point it was a junkyard. Do we know what portion of the site, where this junkyard was?
Yeah, right where you want to build it.
Okay. Who's speaking here, please?
My name is Russell Erickson. I'm on a butter to the property there at the proposed site.
And hold on for a second, sir. Kim, can I make sure you got this here?
Yep, I've got it.
All right. Russell, can you do me a favor and just again,
Yes,
for the
sir.
record, I need your name and your address, please.
My name is Russell Erickson. I live at 105 Turner Road. And we back up right to that property. I've been here for 44 years.
Okay. So I've got a longtime resident that lives next to this site that's saying that it was a junkyard.
Yes, it was.
Is there anybody from the applicant's team that kind of wants to speak up about this? Maybe you didn't know.
We're aware of. No, we knew. We were very aware that it used to be a junkyard, and because of that, we've done some deep environmental sampling.
Okay.
And we can share some of the details of that report if you'd like. I don't have our environmental consultant, who is also is someone else from Ty and Bond as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we pulled up large and clean soil, and without going into details, the commentary was you might have found the cleanest previous junkyard in the history of junkyards, which was the best news that I had gotten in a long time. So
if we can get some documentation,
junkyard. Yeah, and what's that again?
If we can get some documentation on that, the soil tests,
Absolutely.
soil tests. Again, I don't know if a 21E is required for this or not, but it would be nice to see that kind of documentation, and maybe on the plan show where that junkyard or where you took all these soil tests. That would kind of help.
I can send you the soil test. Yeah, I can send you the test plan.
Perfect.
And we commissioned additional tests once we realized it was a junkyard.
Okay.
Tests that we weren't necessarily going to do, but obviously this is a concern for us. So we're well aware of it, and we've probably done more testing than we probably needed to for ourselves to gain some level of confidence in the site.
Understood. If you can provide everybody a copy of that, most specifically Mr. Brennan, so he can look at it. Mr. Erickson, I'd like to thank you for your input.
Okay. Thank you.
That was the last thing that I really had for tonight. If anybody else would like to say something, say it now. If not, we're going to talk about a continuance.
Rob, I think we also just have to pay attention to the 180-day time frame.
Yep.
There was some impact as a result of the pandemic and the tolling of periods, but we want to make sure we keep our eye on that. I don't think they're close now, but 6 months has a sneaky way of coming up quickly when you're going 1 month at a time between meetings.
No, absolutely. David, we've given you a lot to think about at this point. What kind of time do you need?
Well, to the point that was made earlier in terms of consolidating comments from the different town departments, I guess my question would be, now I've taken some pretty detailed notes here, and I feel pretty confident that I have enough to start working on putting together some of this information. But will there be anything issued by way of maybe meeting minutes for this meeting, or some kind of a memo where perhaps the board could consolidate the comments that were discussed today, so I'm certain that I'm addressing all your comments? Because the last thing that I want to do is present to you again and not have addressed all of these comments. And since it was a pretty significant download at this meeting, any kind of documentation that maybe the board could issue to us would be extremely helpful, and in the interest of using everyone's time as efficiently as possible.
Kim, when do you think you can get David some draft minutes? And remember, Kim has a day job, so.
By the way, the meeting is being recorded,
Right.
so you
that helps too.
you could get a copy of the recording
That's a
if
good
you
idea.
needed it.
I would take anything you could send.
And
I can get you everything
Looks like
by next Tuesday.
Great. Thank you.
Do we have, David, do we have your email address? I don't remember seeing you
I
in
don't
any,
believe- No, but if how would you like me to share that with everyone? I can tell it to you right now, or I can send it to someone, or.
if you want to share it right now.
Well, you know what? Well, in the interest of not getting, not that I suspect that anyone would start emailing me, but why don't I share it with I'll find a way to get it to you.
Send it to the zoning board, and send it to the zoning board directly. And if Kim doesn't get it right off, I'll make sure to forward it to her.
That's what I'll do. I'll do that right away.
Mr. Rose, I don't know if you saw the text from WRPS, but they indicate the meeting will be available on their web channel tomorrow, YouTube channel, starting tomorrow. So.
And yep, I just saw the same thing. David, did you see that?
I did, but I didn't quite catch that YouTube channel address. Is there any way that we could? It popped up fast.
YouTube.com /WRPS Rockland. Again, youtube.com /WRPS Rockland. Capital R on Rockland. Capital R, actually capital for the whole thing.
If you open your chat window, also you could cut and paste it by copying it.
Oh, now I'm getting yelled at.
No capitals needed.
No capitals needed.
I see that now. That's great. Thank you very much for that.
All right. So Tuesday you'll get draft text. Tomorrow you'll have the meeting on tape. Is there anything else we can do to help you, sir?
No, I appreciate everyone's time, and we do appreciate the comments, and we're going to get to work on all of the stuff right away. So thank you all.
Let's pick a date. Kim, what are you thinking?
Sorry, August 18th or September 1st, whatever works
Let me look here.
for everyone.
August 18th or September 1st. I have no preference. Does the board members, do you have any preference on this?
Yeah, September 1st.
Push it out. I mean, it's September, but now you got to remember that's also coming very close to it's October 4th. Right, Bob? Mr. Galvin?
I mean, I look at. I mean, I have to defer to your availability. I mean, that's the most important thing. It doesn't make any sense to have a meeting on the 18th if there isn't going to be time yet for some peer review that needs to be completed and received back by the development team.
Agreed.
But you can always shoot for the 18th, and if you haven't got there, you could open and just move it to the 1st at that point too.
Mr. Brennan, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
What kind of time do you need?
I will have I should have a review letter for you probably by the mid next week.
Okay, middle of next week, that gets your comments. I have to work with Judy to get the comments from the rest of the departments after they look at the new design.
And we need to give the architect kind of the green light to get going too, so.
Do we have to talk about that with the applicant at this point?
No, that's what I was referring to before. They've approved up to $11,000 in peer review for the design.
Right.
So they've got Judy will coordinate and give them the go-ahead, but Attorney Marione's going to drop the check off or have somebody drop the check off to get that going for tomorrow.
All right. So Judy's got that under control?
I will try.
Okay. We're filling your plate very quickly here, so
That's okay. Sure. That's fine. That's what we're here.
So that takes care of that. As Pat, as a part of your review, are you going to look at the geotech and then potentially have to talk to a geotechnical specialist?
No, I can take a look at it. I'm comfortable enough looking at a geotech report.
Okay.
That's not a big deal.
All right. Because the last thing on that is we're also going to be looking at the wetlands impact. And you're going to have to comment, and I'm looking to have you comment on that as well. Are you going to be able to have all of that done by midweek next week?
Yes, I'll have it all done. Well, it depends on when they get me the geotechnical report.
Dig it.
The
All right.
wetlands.
I'll send that to you. I'll send that to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay. So that takes care of that. So let's just push it a little bit. By the end of next week, we're going to try to get everything on our end to the applicant. Mr. Brennan, that sounds right?
Yeah, that's okay with me.
Ms. Barrett, that sounds possible?
Well, but the architect won't be done by the end of next week.
Okay.
That's not going to happen.
We can definitely get the contract rolling with him so he can get on. Okay.
We can send the architect what has been submitted to the board, and we can get the engagement going. But they're not going to have a review point ready by the end of next week. That is just impossible.
Right. No, then I would say if they're fast, it would be by the end of the following week. But I wouldn't even guarantee that. I would say by the 14th. To be safe, everything could be to the applicant by the 14th, which only gives them a week to get to the 18th, which would never happen. Gives them about 2.5 weeks.
It'd be less than a week.
Yeah, I know.
It'd be about. I'd have one Monday.
Yeah, I know, and that's not feasible. All right, let's forego we're gonna get the architect going. Maybe we deal with that. Maybe we deal with the architectural on a following meeting.
Yeah.
That would actually be a good way to wrap this whole thing up, is to deal with the architecturals. Because right now we're dealing primarily with site. So if we can plan to get let me just look at the calendar again. If we can plan to get everything on our end conceptually by the end of next week, if not by the middle of the following week, so say like the 5th of August, that gives the applicant, change that, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 weeks to get us to the 1st. But we'd need everything submitted I would say at least by the 25th, to give Pat a chance to look at it again, to give the board members a chance to look at it again. David, is that possible?
So everything to me by August 5th, and then for a September 1st meeting, I would need to get everything to you by the 25th.
Yeah, I would like. Usually it's 2 weeks, but I think for this, I think we can look at it. And review it within a week. I think comfortably we can make that work.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. I think I can make that work.
All right. So we're gonna look at, so Kim, you're hearing this? We're gonna make it September 1st,
September 1st, 7:30?
7:30. Let's try to not have anything else on this, on that date.
Okay,
And actually, I don't even know if there is anything else on that date, and it's clear,
there isn't.
right?
No,
All right.
it's empty.
We're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do anything else on that date. Mr. Galvin, do you have anything else to say?
Nope, I think just remember when you move to continue, take a roll call vote.
Okay, I would entertain my board members,
Motion to continue to September 1st.
before I hear a second on that, Kim, can you do me a favor and remind me who's voting on this?
One moment, let me look up the other one.
It's kind of self-explanatory, but I need this read into the record.
It's you, Greg, Chuck, Tim, and it did say Saucier, but he's no longer, correct?
Okay, here's the deal. Mr. Saucier is no longer a member of the board. Mr. Hessian had to recuse himself from this, and technically shouldn't be on my screen right now, but I'm not gonna. Thank you. And Mr. Baker is gonna have to fill the empty seat. So, Mr. Galvin, is there an issue at this point? Do we have to do anything different?
So you have yourself, Mr. Haynes, Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Baker.
That's
That's
it.
4 of you, right?
Exactly.
Nobody else?
That's it.
It's only a majority vote to approve a comprehensive permit, so you don't have an issue.
Okay, that's all I care about. I just wanted that read into the record that's who's voting on the board, that's who's voting on this application, and that's that. I have a motion for a continuance to September 1st. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second
That's
right there.
7:30 too, right?
That's
You want to
7.
make sure, right.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, roll call. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
All right, so there's the motion for the continuance. What else do we need to do?
Do you have any other scheduling or any other matters you have to discuss?
I don't think so at this point.
Well, then, motion to adjourn.
Kim, do we have to talk about any meeting minutes or anything like that?
No.
All right, we're good. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I
Second.
got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, roll call vote.
Roll
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.